talk to me about being a Jew right now. How's that going?
I mean, like, I'm only half Jewish, really. My dad's Jewish, my mom's not.
Oh, yeah, I bet you would have said that 10 years ago. Now, now I'm half.
Hey, I had nothing to do with 9/11. My dad's a Jew.
We didn't shoot JFK.
Well, I think that, look, people blame Jews for everything they always have, and then they just, like, keep doing it until they end up killing them, and then they realize, like, oh, fuck, it was actually us. We were just insane. So I think that it's kind of similar now, and I don't know if did Jews kill JFK? I don't know.
Yes.
They did?
Yeah.
That's confirmed? By who?
By a bunch of... But listen, I listen.
Because half the tweets on Twitter right now are like, here's proof, and then the other half are like, Jews didn't do it. Here's the proof. So,
well, yeah. I mean, but here's the whole thing. I don't want to get in the argument because I love you, dude. I think you're great. Because I don't want you to leave the show like with a weird feeling. Because I love you. My girlfriend's Jewish. Mitzi, you wouldn't know anyone would be here if it wasn't for Mitzi Shore. She was the only person who cared about me.
I think that because people blame the Jews, and then every other group is allowed to get away with basically murder.
But okay, so like I'm glad we're having this conversation. I mean, because go on.
I just want to get the point out that, like, right now in America, there's like cities that are raising Palestinian flags, and they're like, this is like a Muslim majority city now, and like nobody cares.
We gotta get
That's
the muzzies
completely
out.
fine. That's fine,
right?
But it's like Jews who, for the most part, you know, I think they've done positive things.
Well, yeah. Here's my thing about Jews, Ben, and it just like, and I mean this with love, is like, and I just want to have this conversation because people are going to be like, why didn't you ask him this? And so I have to ask you. I think that Jews are wonderful people. My girlfriend, again, Jewish. I could go through all the Jews that have made a wonderful. You know, it's like kind of what Owen Benjamin talks about, deli Jews. We're like, we have all these Jews around us that are great people.
Accounting Jews.
And then, well, counting Jews start getting weird. Okay, but
Jews.
the point is, but the point is, I think that Jews are the only group that has this inability to admit that they have crazies in their group. Every other group I know, like we just had a conversation about women and we're all like, oh, these fucking whores. And you're like, yeah, they're fucking whores. And I'm Italian and I can go, yeah, those mobsters are fucking crazy people. Black people. I mean, we made jokes about muzzies and everyone's like, oh, these fucking muzzies. I think that Jews are the only ones that circle the wagon every time. And my only point in saying that is like, I just think it's going to get to a point where Jews are going to have to be like everybody else and be like, yeah, not me. These fucking psychos. I had nothing to do with that because they didn't have anything to do with it. Because like saying that every Jew has something to do with the 9/11 is like saying I had something to do with lying about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, it was a bunch of white people, and you could say I'm a white guy. I'm Italian, Armenian, but I had nothing to do with it. It's just.
I think it's the opposite of what you're saying, just because it's. Jews already do that. Like every Jew you meet, it's like, yeah, fucking Epstein's retarded, Weinstein, or whatever Jews, Mossad, whatever. Like,
I don't hear that at all, Ben. Ever. I'm going to be honest with you. I never hear it. Ever.
You don't hear that from your girlfriend?
Never. I mean, my girlfriend.
She's pro Epstein.
She's in.
No. But she has now, after October 7th, been like. But dude, she used to get, hey dude, what are you, fucking anti-Semitic? Washi rips Armenians. It's the most hilarious thing.
The reason that there's anti-Semitism is that. And it's its own word, and this is just what my thought. Like, okay, I make fun of Asians, right?
Yeah.
But I never say like we need to get them all out of the country, or like I never say like they are the problem. You know, there could be every mayor in fucking America could be Asian, and people would still not be as racist towards Asian people as they are to Jews.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So like Asians, like they're like Jews are behind the all these industries. It's like. Dude, there's way more. Every single industry people say Jews are in power of, there's like 10 times more Indians, Muslims, and Chinese, just to name a few.
You think there's more Muslims in Hollywood than there are Jews?
Not now, but they didn't make Hollywood, and there shouldn't be more Muslims in Hollywood than Jews.
Right.
I don't think.
So in the media, you think there's more Muslims than there are Jews?
In their countries.
No, but in America.
In America, no. But in their countries, there are.
So let me ask you something. Have Jews done some shady shit? Not all Jews, but are there Jews that have done shady shit?
Of course.
Okay,
But
that's
I don't
all I'm
think that's-
saying.
But I think that what people need to realize is people are like, why are Jews so in control of the media? And why? Because they fucking came here as immigrants and were like, yo, let's not just be retards. Let's actually do something.
And I'm okay
And
with
then-
understanding
and they're
that.
then penalized by that because it's like they've been fucking, since the 1890s trying to figure out how to create more, spread their culture.
Right.
And I think a lot of it gets bastardized, and that happens with every culture. But there's this hatred towards one Jew does a bad thing, every Jew's blamed, and then even like you said, you're like, why can't you say that Jew was wrong and you're not? It's like they do that.
I didn't say exactly that, but I said that there is a circle to wagons that does go on,
Especially with Israel.
yeah, in Israel, and it's just like,
But it's like obviously that's the only fucking country Jews have.
yeah, but
and,
that doesn't mean they
were all-
could just do what they're doing. Listen, again,
What do you mean? If you're Armenian, are you supposed to shit on Armenia because it's the only
They start
Armenian country?
genociding people. Yeah, maybe.
if Armenians started genociding Turks, I would 100% call it out. 100%.
Yeah,
and
but
I
people's definition of genocide now is like, oh my god, they're bombing people and they're getting trapped in the. It's like
That's
this
pretty
is
genocidal.
I mean, dude,
I
every
disagree.
single international body calls it a genocide. That's all
Every
I'm
single
saying.
international body
Yeah.
doesn't want Israel to exist.
That's not true at all. That's not true at
100%
all.
true. It's
Everybody would
100%
love
true.
for Israel to exist as
The
long.
entire UN, the only countries voting in favor of Israel now is the United States.
And why, Ben? Is it anything they're
Because-
doing?
Because half of the world's Jews live in Israel and the other half live in the United States.
Yeah, but Ben, but is there something going on that maybe people think is wrong?
What do you mean? Yeah, but they've always thought it was wrong. They thought
But,
there was no.
would you
what
say
hap-
October 7th?
What was the reason that they did the Holocaust? There was no Israel.
I mean, how deep do you want to go into that? I can go into it really deep.
What was? But there's always a way to go into it deep and explain why.
But
it was
but my whole thing is
But
that
nobody
when,
wants to-
when
nobody
someone's
wants
like
to have-
it's so
go ahead.
toxic. I know when people go it's so toxic on Twitter, what they're talking about is all the quote unquote anti-Semitism. But I would also tell you that in 2018 you could I watch people tee off on white people and not only not get punished, but get 6-figure jobs writing in Los Angeles. And that's all. So it's like, I'll understand when it's really hard to be, Ben, I love you. So I'm not trying to get in an argument. I just feel like,
I actually enjoy this. 'cause
okay. So I
mean,
just
your
want you to know I
listeners
would love
probably
and
do too.
respect you. And this isn't like, I would hate you for you to leave this.
But there's this vibe of like everybody who believes what you believe is like, they'll just say my opinion, which is the opinion of a lot of people, is basically wrong, and then the other opinion's right. And
No, but this is a
I think it's
conversation.
somewhere in the middle.
Right. It's a conversation. Like there was a show on Netflix called Dear White People, written by a Jewish trans. And like, you'll never see that go the other way. They did a whole show about how Christians run the U.S. government. You'll never see it go the other way. And so my whole thing is like, this is just a time right now where everybody's getting called out on their bullshit. It's not toxic. Twitter was always toxic. It just, now it's everybody's getting it and people aren't used to that.
But
So
you know what was toxic? World War II was toxic. I mean, people are acting like they're like, what about Twitter? It's like, dude,
Right.
people were dying.
Right. But you know where
and then
else
they
is
go, Now
okay.
they go, oh, the Palestinians are being genocided.
Ben. I don't know
And
anyone who does. 95% of the population thinks that Hitler is the worst human being to ever live on the planet. And what they don't
true.
realize is that Mao killed way more. And the Russians, who we openly tee off on, had 2 humongous genocides. They had one where they lost 60 million and another one where Bolsheviks killed up to 10 million. So my point is, it's like World War II is bad. World War II is really bad. There's been, I mean, dude, the fucking Chinese had Mao, and then they had something called the Democide. Has anyone ever heard the Democide? That's where the Japanese murked 10 million Chinese. Nobody ever you can't go to China and talk about that. If you go on stage and talk about it, they'll shut you the fuck down.
Well, the first thing is that, I mean, in Japan, the atrocities that Japan was doing in China, putting heads on sticks and shit like that, we got them back for that. We fucking nuked them.
Right.
Okay. So number one, and Germany and people, this new argument of like, here's the pie chart where it's like there's all the people that died, and here's only the Jews in World War II, and here's the Jews. It's like, yeah, but we're talking about the way that people died. That's what genocide is. And people have now changed the definition to be like, no, but if your village gets bombed, or if your village gets, in the midst of war, the power is shut off and people freeze to death, this is also genocide. This is all. So what they're doing is they're basically saying that when people came in, first of all, rounded up Jews, put them in the same areas.
Right.
Like my grandparents had 2 kids that were murdered as infants, taken in the middle of the night, and then they would draw blood from those kids. So they go, oh, Jewish blood's not equal to our blood, but they would draw the blood until those kids died and send that blood to the front lines to be used for blood transfusions, et cetera, for the troops. So when people go, and they're living in a caged community,
right?
They're not allowed to leave. They're not allowed to. It's not like but the Palestinians they have rights to do things. They had rights to work in Israel. Most of them did. They had rights to.
I mean, that's debatable. They controlled their calorie intake. They controlled everywhere they go. They controlled the amount of water they get.
Sounds like a concentration camp.
Yeah,
I would say
completely.
A little bit. I would say so.
It's all bullshit, though.
No, that's not bullshit.
It is.
No,
it is bullshit.
Ben, it's not.
Dude, the Hamas propaganda. First of all, look at the statistics of how many people from Palestine, both.
But Ben, all
Gaza
this came
and
out
West
way
Bank,
before October 7th. This data's way.
I went to
before.
university. I went to university with Palestinians. Okay?
Right.
So they escaped, and then you say, oh yeah, where's your sister? Oh, she's in Palestine. She's in Gaza for a bit. Then she's coming back. There's this. It's not like Cuba where they can't leave legally. They can leave. They do not want to because people there care more about killing Jews than being prosperous. And it's the same thing here with the woke people. That's why they love the Palestine movement, because it's all about who cares about being prosperous? Who cares about creating something like Hollywood or the media organizations or becoming a CEO? Let's just protest shit and throw rocks in the street. And I mean, that's the people will argue with me and they'll say, no, it's a genocide. And then they post videos. They go, here's how beautiful Gaza was before October 7th. So why were they not enjoying it then?
Because when does that picture come out? And they did annihilate. There's never been a time when 80% of the population's killed and 100% of the territory is pretty much annihilated. It's never happened before.
It's only like 50,000 people.
That's not 50,000 people. The number's over 300,000.
But where do you get that number?
I get that from like the UN, people on the ground, everybody like that. And it's like
the UN is.
Ben, do you still believe in 40 babies got their heads fucking chopped off? Is that a true story? Who? 40 babies had their heads chopped off? That propaganda?
Dude, everything that Hamas did is true.
Okay. And Hamas is who funds Hamas, Ben?
Literally almost every country in the world.
Yeah, and Israel through Qatar. And we have clips of Netanyahu saying he created...
Bragging about it.
Bragging about creating Hamas to counter the PLO.
Yeah, but they didn't want it. They didn't organize Hamas.
100% they did.
I mean, that's a conspiracy theory.
No, it's not, dude. It's not because you don't like a fact. It doesn't mean it's conspiracy thery. And it's the same game plan played over and over again with ISIS and Al Qaeda. The United States, Israel created both of them. Okay. Well, the United States created Al Qaeda, and the U.S. and Israel created ISIS. That's how it goes. I mean, that's how you do. You create a problem, reaction, solution. It's how it's created.
I mean, I'm not the only person who would stand up and say that's a debatable point.
It is. It's not a debatable point. There's videos of him saying it. He's quoted over and over and over again. Dude, the news in Haaretz or whatever that newspaper is literally talked about Haaretz talking about how Netanyahu's funding of Hamas through Qatar has come back in blowback. Ben Swan, I can send you a video, breaks down everything on October 7th. It's the same exact thing. And again, I love you. But I like you too. It has nothing to do with not liking you. It's just that
you're getting your information from one place.
I'm not getting it from one place. I'm getting it from all over the place, over and over again. And I'm getting it from Israeli media.
There are people in Israel who want Israel to not exist as well, by the way.
Okay.
And that's true. There are left-wing organizations there. They think that they should give. Most of the people who were massacred actually were pro-Palestinian that lived on the border towns and were trying to help those people. Okay. So that's number one. But you can't look at this issue and go, okay, so because everybody says the same thing you're saying online about this is why they funded every single bad thing that Israel ever happened to Israel. Israel made it happen on purpose. And every single bad thing happening to the West is Israel made it on purpose. So what's the solution? The solution would be the end of Israel, demolish it, give it back to the Palestinians, and where would the Israelis go? I guess America, and then I'm sure everybody would be super happy about that.
Brooklyn, LA. No, I think most people, there was a time when everyone lived together peacefully.
No, there wasn't. There's never been.
There's always been. There was even before that in Palestine. There were Jews, Muslims, and Christians all living peacefully.
When they were all uneducated, they had no idea what the fuck was going on. They were herding goats. They obviously weren't.
There's nothing wrong with being a farmer.
No, but I'm just saying that the more people got, the more mosques that appeared, the more synagogues that appeared, people start creating their differences. But I truly believe that people on the side of what you're trying to explain are pushing us in a direction that was basically they want Israel to not exist. The Muslims will take over that area. The Muslims will keep pouring into the Europe. That's going to keep happening. Like the second Israel's gone, it's going to be like floodgates going in there. And they want the U.S. out of the Middle East. They want all the Middle Eastern countries, as corrupt and fucked up as they are, to have full control over that area. And we're just going to hope and pray that's going to be a good thing. So I think that whether Israel gave money here and then, they gave money because they wanted the fucking Palestinians to be prosperous beside them and trade with them and be normal, and they don't want that. So to say like, this is the conspiracy. They wanted the Palestinians to go to war so that they could then kill them. That's people losing it, I think. And you can have your opinion. I respect it. But my opinion is that people will find any little thing to then go, okay, well, Epstein, that means that all Jews should leave that area.
My whole thing is I think we need to get to a place where we're like, it's not all Jews. And there are some, if people are okay with saying Islamic extremists, we should be able to say Talmud Zionists, or pedophile Catholics, we should be able to say Talmud Zionists, or Christian nationalists, we should be able to say Talmud Zionists. I think it's all the same.
Like most people don't even know what the Talmud is.
Yeah, I know. That's another thing too, but that's my opinion.
You have to be like a fucking religious scholar to fucking understand that shit.
But the point is like, of all the Abrahamic religions, all of them have extremists, and we should be able to acknowledge that.
I just looked up the other day, though. For instance, everybody says how much money we give to Israel. The U.S. gives more money to Muslim countries than Israel.
Well, there's more Muslim countries than there are Israel. But listen, again,
you're making my point, though. Like, the point is that anything Muslims do is Jews' fault.
It's not, dude. I'm not saying that
it's the
all.
Chinese people. It's their fault.
It is the Chinese people, though, because the China knows that this is going on. They're using everybody's anger towards Israel against them. Meanwhile, they're continuing to pour spies into the U.S., into Canada, into Europe. They're continuing to push people into parliament.
Stealing
our IP. Is Israel doing that?
They don't have the ability to do it on the scale China does.
That's all I'm saying is
every country
respectfully
doing some
disagree.
Shady stuff.
Yeah, they all do, but it's like the inability to say that Mossad is spying on us or any of that stuff is where we're
here.
China
I'm
has
fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
industrial-sized concentration camps right now.
I agree with that.
Of Muslim people.
I agree with that.
And nobody cares. Millions of people. I'm not talking, and whatever you want to say, it's 40,000, 300,000, 2 million. They have the entire population of what Palestine is, of Arabs in concentration camps right now, making whatever we want, pride flags.
I agree, man. And a lot of them are flowing into Syria right now. They're talking about a lot of Uyghurs are there right now. So I'm with you on that.
Syrians are walking around with AK-47s going into people's homes and blowing their brains out.
Yep, I agree.
That's okay. There's no protest for that. But when Jews retaliate, and you can argue that, well, they shouldn't be there in the first place. That's the number. Oh, well, they should have all never been there, and they should have never colonized it. And they should have never blah, 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 blah. But the reality is they are there, and they're getting attacked. What the fuck are they supposed to do?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. It's just going to be a vicious circle of conversations about, chicken and the egg.
So
That's
you're
what I'm
okay with
saying.
how they've handled the settlements?
Dude, the settlement, like everybody who bitches about that, though, it's like, dude, it's
No, but it's a simple question. Do you think that policy is acceptable? The state policy of the settlements is an acceptable.
I don't think it's a reason to go and cut people's heads off.
But do you think the policy's okay, though?
I think that the reason they're doing it is, so in America, it's a huge country. You're talking about a small country. Israel's small. They want to expand their borders. They have more and more people moving there all the time.
Yeah, but you're just saying, like, okay, they're already there, so what can we do about that? But now they're doing the same thing. They're expanding the territory even further into other places where people.
Yeah, the Greater Israel Project.
Those can be. I don't. Too bad. I personally think that if Israel is part of the American empire, which it is, it's part of the European Western Empire, right? I mean, it is.
Yeah, we bought
just
it.
like Australia is, just like New Zealand is. Other countries have done these things already. It's just that we're watching it in real time. America did the same thing. If you watch American Primeval, I mean, the whole fucking thing is blowing up, Indian Americans, Native Americans. So
yeah, it's 2025 though.
Yeah, and I also everyone really does condemn that
in 1948. So every country that's created,
but it's condemned,
is going to go through that.
Everybody condemns.
Oh, is that so? This is just the growing pains for Israel.
yeah. Okay. But people have to realize this happened in America.
The terrible twos for Israel.
Well, I'm just gonna say this. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we had you on, Ben. I love talking to you. I hate ending on this. But I feel like if we didn't have this conversation, people would be like, "Why didn't you have this conversation?"
It's good though. These are the kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, as long as
people will hate me either way.
No, I don't think people will hate you. I think people like you.
But there's a lot of. I think
you're crushing it.
I'm standing up for a lot of people because the dominant view is now what you guys believe, which is that it's a genocide. They shouldn't be there. None of this should be happening.
All right.
So I'm going to stand up and say, like, can we stop being pussies with why are they expanding their territory? Because there's fucking people moving there and it's a sick country. Fuck it. And what are the Palestinians doing? Did they work? Did they spend?
I mean, that's a hardcore.
That's a pretty Zionist take, which is fine. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Did they spend the last 65 years before, let's say, the last 15 years? Did they spend the last 60 years trying to become prosperous, trying to figure? Because if that had happened and there was no blowing up of the buses and
but you can have an argument about there's an invisible hand making it impossible for that to happen. Yeah. And then I can get into deeper about who controls Israel, in my humble opinion, and we can go into that. But again, I mean, I would love to have that conversation with you, Ben, anytime. And I mean this in love. I just keep saying that because I would hate for you to for us to have something because I respect you so much as a comedian.
I would never be upset with you because you believe those things. A lot of people believe what you believe, and it's not the reasoning you believe it is just because of the perspective is different. Because the perspective is, which is scary for me, is that people on the right and the left now agree on one thing, which is basically that Jews shouldn't have that country. Everything they did there was wrong. everything they did there is a crime.
I don't think any of us believe they shouldn't have that country. Though.
I'm fine with Jews having a homeland. I don't understand how it's any different than white nationalism, but I'm fine with Jews having a homeland. But you know, it's not the expense of Palestinians. I would find a happy medium. I feel like one side is funded and armed, and the other side is just getting murked, and that's what I think most people are upset about.
But I think that most people don't realize that, like, that is kind of not true, because Iran is sending them hundreds of millions of dollars. A lot of their weapons are underground. They're using non-traditional weapons. They don't have tanks. They don't have certain things, but they have tons of
Ben, is your belief that the Palestinians have the same amount of weaponry as Israel? Is that what you're saying?
No, they don't. But the reason is because Israel knows how much weapons they have, and they're like, we have to have more than that. They literally had to develop the Iron Dome.
So the notion is that you believe that Hamas will just throw a weapon, throw a bomb or a missile into Israel, fully knowing that all hell is about to break loose, and whatever number it is, 50,000, I believe it's 300,000, are going to die. That's what they're going to do?
Well, number one, half of the number of the people dead are soldiers, or were.
Yeah, but you've had attacks there was one day where 3/4 of the people were women and children who died.
They were told to go to an area would be safe, and then they bombed that.
I mean, if that's true, that's not right, and I'm sure.
I mean, it's Al Jazeera. I got Al Jazeera up here. It was March 18th last year. So.
But Al Jazeera,
I know.
Well, they're never gonna.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no such thing. It's just the way.
All I'm saying, if you listen to Israeli news, or if you're, it's.
I do. I listen to that. I subscribe to that one newspaper.
Yeah.
And
I'm not saying that killing people is wrong. What I'm saying is that Israel values the life of their own citizens more so than the people of Palestine.
Then why did they show up early on October 7th? Why did it take them so long to get there on October?
Okay, now you're going into deeper things. I don't want to go into that. But Ben, listen, and I mean this with love. Anytime you want to come on,
happy to have this
I like this discussion. It's a fun discussion.
People need to hear the other side of it, because otherwise you guys are going to end up in an echo chamber as well, where it's just like,
I don't think you're wrong about that. I know that about Twitter,
and I'm not
too.
saying you're wrong about any of this stuff, and maybe I'm wrong about some stuff, but all I'm defending is that, like, if America got 9/11, but then people go, oh, well, it's Israel. So it can never, nothing can ever.
But could it be Israel? Could it?
Could it be Muslims?
Could it? But okay.
Could it have been Muslims?
It could be Muslims. Could it be Israel on 9/11?
It could have been.
Okay.
It could have been, but it's kind of like when Trump said, and then a bomb could land on your head right now. Like,
that was so funny.
My point is that there is another side of it. Yeah. And I almost don't feel like it's like when COVID happened, and it was like everybody just turned and was like, yo, if you're fucking not wearing a mask, if you're not getting, if you're not afraid, if you're not willing to be locked down, like, you're part of the problem. You're a bio-terrorist, you're all this stuff. It's becoming like that with the Jew thing, where it's like, if you're a Jew, you just have to submit to non-Jews and go, you're right, the Palestinians deserve to live, and we don't, and we did control everything, and we did do Hollywood, and it's all our fault. And it's like, I think that's just, like, fucked up. Honestly.
You don't feel like you're hardening, though? Because, I mean, the fact that you can't even give ground on the settlements,
the fact that people care about that and don't realize that.
But it's human life, dude. And it's like people living in. That's my whole thing. Like, if you go, hey, Sam, fucking people are attacking and being evil to Jews, I'd be like, yeah, that's wrong. Because most Jews, like everybody else, are just living their life. That's my whole argument is most Jews are living their life. As you move up any group, up the power level, you get to the top, there's a concentration of psychopaths of every group. And I just feel Jews are the only group that will not recognize that. Every other group goes, yeah, they're crazy. I have nothing to do with that. I just feel because of when you bring up World War II, it's been ingrained into them that, a genocide is coming, even though, again, Russians, Chinese, Christians in Russia, we can go through the whole group. There's been other genocides that were way bigger. And we're allowed to openly tee off on them.
I don't know the specific I don't know what genocides you're talking about of Asians and Russians, but I think part of it's because the smaller their population is very small. So when they were European population, what was it of Jews? It was like 12 million before the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Was it 15 million?
It's something like that. Yeah.
So, and then after it was like what, 6 or 5 or now it's like not like less than 1 million, right? So I think that it's different because people want to kill Jews for a different reason. They're not just moving through.
But is a death a death? I mean, like, you know, when this thing that what you sound like is when they make hate crime a thing. Death
is not a death. Death is not a death.
A death is not a death. So if I kill you because you're a white guy, that's not the same as killing you because you're a Jew.
If somebody kills somebody who's on death row for murder,
right?
Is that equal to
walking down the street? Okay, that I feel like that's a false equivalent because what we're talking about is innocent people, right? I mean, that's kind of the discussion that we're having. Is that an innocent person? If an innocent white guy dies versus an innocent Jewish person dies, is one death worse than the other?
I don't think that's. I think it's how they're being killed and why they're being killed. It's not necessarily the race or skin color. If people went door to door looking for white people and started dragging their children out of the homes and rounding them up and putting them in certain areas and killing them, then that would be bad.
It also matters that they were a minority too, or are a minority. I mean, I think I'm agreeing with you there. I think that matters. Yeah.
But white people are basically a minority now. So I think that a lot of what's happening is...
what do you mean by that?
Well, globally, they're a minority, right?
Well, but I mean, I'm just... Okay. We're thinking like the Western world here, I think.
But now. I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about like World War II. But look, we could talk about this forever, but I agree with you on certain things. Yes, there's bad Jews. There's bad people of all things. But what I disagree is that I think you're seeing it the way of like Jews aren't coming out and saying that these Jews are bad. There aren't really other races doing that either. Like black people
all the time.
Black people don't need to apologize for Diddy.
They do it all. Listen, and this is a brand new thing too. You have on YouTube. There's just giant channels of black people calling out white people, black people shit. Again, this is all I'm saying. Like, if there's this notion that anti-Semitism is everywhere. I'm like, hate. The internet was built on hate. Like, everyone gets hate now. The past laws, anti-Semitism laws, to me is absolutely insanity.
What do you think of Netanyahu? Before we go here,
I mean, a lot of people don't like him. A lot of Israelis don't like him.
What do you think?
They're familiar with him. I mean, I'm not like super Jew. I just defend what I think is right. I think that people want an enemy, and even America. Look at all the enemies. America's making all these enemies with its own allies, right? Canada, Israel. I bet Taiwan as on the chopping block potentially. All these countries that we're giving money to that we don't feel we should.
Yeah, but Netanyahu, I mean, has been a target long before Trump was in office. Or do you think he's because there's this defense of him that he's a product of his times. He kind of is a man who met this threat. I would suspect maybe you feel that way about him. Is that?
I mean, dude, like people who are on. Like the tip that you're on basically hate all of the prime ministers. The only prime minister they would like is if a prime minister was like, we're giving back all the settlements, we're giving back all the land.
But you're misreading me if you're putting me on that. But no, I think Netanyahu is
I think he's the Dick Cheney of that era.
A special case.
You know,
people so I have a friend that is part of the Canadian Armed Forces, and he was stationed in Lebanon. And part of Canada's mission in Lebanon was helping train the Lebanese government forces, which is different from Hezbollah. It's a smaller political party in Lebanon. And what people don't realize is just like the sheer complexity of the area and the fact that these militant groups like Hezbollah, which are backed by Iran, like we all know this is true, whether you want to talk about, well, that's through this.
No, that's true. Iran sucks too, to be clear.
I think
these governments all suck.
They all suck. They can all suck a fat one.
But I think that like Israel, like October 7th, whether you say it was pre-planned, whatever, and people say that 9/11 was pre-planned. People say that fucking random cars driving through people on the street was pre-planned. Everything's pre-planned. Nothing can just happen now. And that's what I mean,
we know that the FBI knew about 9/11 before it was going to happen.
Right.
I mean, Russia was warning the United States about before it was going to happen.
Was specifically what was going to happen, or that something was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, the Looming Tower series is all about that. If you've read that, it's
Okay. Well,
I mean, it was. They make it. They attribute it to the bumbling of the intelligence agencies, but or the CIA and the FBI. But I mean, I think it's something a little darker.
I think that they probably looked at that threat and went, "That's fucking insane. There's no way they're going to be able to pull that off."
Right.
And
it's almost like it's impossible to pull off without some state actor.
Well, this is what I think is dangerous, is that people don't realize that like there are actually just people trying to do fucked up shit.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
most of them work for the FBI.
I'm with you, Ben.
That's one side of it. And honestly, I think it's easier to live like that. Like I think it's easier consciously to be like, you know what? It was the FBI, it was the CIA, it was Israel. It wasn't just people wanting to kill. It's easier mentally. It's kind of like when you have
Is
to think of
Is it easier?
Yeah, I think. Well, clearly it is, because so many people latch onto it. It's way harder to go.
That's not the mainstream point of view, though. That 9/11
My own opinion is, and I don't want to keep you here all day, Ben, but
that is the mainstream.
There's a bunch of psychopaths, Ben, at the highest levels. There's a bunch of psychopaths. I believe, Ben, that most people just want to live their life. And I don't think that means everybody does that. But I think the majority of people want to live their life, start a family, take care of their family, and leave something for their kids. And at the top of all these religions are psycho-fucking-paths, dark fucking art psychopath who are constantly trying to thin the herd. And they're of all religions. There's not one religion that does not fit into this. And this whole point of this show has always been all religions. That's it. That's it. No, my whole thing will always be, I don't think anyone should be treated unfairly or with special treatment. That's it. That's at the end of it. And I can't control what some people think, because there's always going to be fucking retards out there. And there's like people tweeting in 2018, yeah, I'm racist, I hate white people. Those people, dude, they're fucking retards too. But nobody was going nuts on that shit. Well, they were. And that's why we're in the place we are right now, where political correctness is dying. So I understand where you're coming from, and I love you, and I just don't ever want you to think I don't love you.
No,
but
I'll say this is the last thing, because I don't want to argue this, and I get all your guys' points because I read them all the time. But like what people don't realize is like, this is how bad it is now. Wait 10 years, okay? Like we already have fucking Kanye wearing swastika necklaces, like. People want to be like, well, yeah, but it's 109 countries, and it's because the Jews fucking did this. The Jews. Okay, let's just let it go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but dude, Ben, we were told a story about 19 hijackers flying a plane into a building, okay? And we could have a real discussion whether that is real or not, that story. Okay, whether that actual what they said happened. And because that story was sold to us by the mainstream media, 4 million Iraqis died, and they had nothing to do with 9/11. That's what we're talking about. What you're talking about is this slippery slope of like, oh, this hate and this theory of hate could lead to this, when in reality, a story was sold to us that resulted in 4 million Iraqis dying. So when we talk about 9/11 and who could possibly be involved, what we're talking about is accountability and actually going, these 4 million Iraqis didn't need to die. And that's what it is. So the theory of something.
9/11 out of that, though. Who did 9/11? Completely irrelevant to the Iraqis dying. It was all the lying, the incredible lying on behalf of the government.
Right, but it was bounced off of 9/11.
Right, but I'm saying you can, if you want to just do this intellectually, you can take 9/11 out of that equation,
right,
and just get to them
4
lying
million
about
Iraqis
weapons of mass destruction.
So that's my whole thing. That's why I go, not all. I believe innocent life is innocent life. And you could break down, oh, well, this. Well, innocent life is dead, and it's super sad to me.
Yeah, but also it's about we're on teams, and we want our team to win. And
okay,
I think that
I will respect that.
People forget that they want to go every you know, all life is the same, but half this conversation was talking about how all cultures aren't the same, and how when Indian people in Canada come en masse, the country does change, or when
I agree with that.
So this idea that all life is the same, well, it's not the same in India. Because if you get hit by a car in India, nobody's fucking pulling over to help you.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
like
true.
It's not like America where people are fucking pulling over the car and sitting with you as you die and calling the ambulance. That is not happening in every country. So you may have the vision, the good heart, and a lot of people who are on this side of like the Jews did everything wrong have good hearts and they want to be. But like I just pulled up a stat just for fun because the first part of what you said was like, you really think that many people hijacked a plane and da-da-da? Dude, between 1990 and like even 2005, like there's like 20 to 40 plane jackings happening a year.
Right. But the 9/11 was like, they had a bunch of people, they told us, flew a plane in some Luke Skywalker trying to destroy the Death Star maneuver that just is impossible to do. You talk to any pilot, they're like, that's impossible. And
dude, have you not played? Like I literally love Flight Simulator games.
Yeah, me too.
I love it. It's literally the only thing that everybody does is fly the planes.
Okay, did you? Okay, okay,
that's the only thing people do. They take off.
A Jew flew a plane into some buildings. Interesting. Anyways, Ben, we love you. I know you. I hope to God you know I love you, and I'm so happy you came on the show. And I love this conversation.
All people are not equal. America's #1. Bomb the living shit out of everybody who fucks with us, and that's where I'm at.
By the way, if you think we're extreme, we think Woody Allen is innocent on the show.
Okay, so we support Woody Allen.
We really do.
He's the Jewish most Jew.
It's fun. I think this conversation is something that nobody is willing to have in a like civilized manner, and I think it's important for people to do it and not hate each other because.
Well, we love you, buddy, and I mean that with all my heart. I really love everything you're doing, and I appreciate you coming on.